My guest today is Lori Haler, owner of Designing Response. She's known globally as the secret weapon of direct response design to top A-lister copywriters like Gary Bencivenga, the late Jim Rutz, John Carlton, the late Clayton Makepeace, Carline Anglade-Cole, Parris Lampropoulos, David Deutsch, and companies including the Agora Companies, Boardroom, Newsmax, Oprah Winfrey's Big Book of Happiness, For Patriots, Healthy Directions, and more. In short, Lori's design firm amplifies bottom line response. Lori, welcome to the show.
Bobby, it's great to be here. I really appreciate you inviting me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. We both have such similar kind of thought processes around design. You're a master of design. I started in the industry with design and then transitioned over into optimization and copywriting. And it was really frustration that kind of brought me there. And I think you kind of have a similar kind of mindset. So I've always been frustrated when a designer is just makes something pretty and never reads the copy. And I know you share that frustration.
Yeah, definitely. That is a big conundrum of mine, and it's got to be stopped as far as I'm concerned. The problem is, and I think you and I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, is, there's wonderful design schools out there, but they just don't have the means to train designers for direct response, probably, in the scheme of their education alignment. So what happens is designers come out knowing about fonts and colors and beautiful design, but they don't get a lot of training, obviously, unless they are and they're just not listening. I'm not sure what's happening, but they don't get a lot of training about reading the copy, getting into the shoes of the audience, and then projecting, strategizing, and creating that design that exactly aligns the copy and conveys the same message in the design that you create. So, I'd love to teach the masses on that someday and just get that out of the way, because that is where the true winners are created.
You're absolutely right. It's probably something more around the long form direct response. I think you hit on it there, because traditionally nobody's used to seeing that much copy, right? And the designer is, well, everyone for that matter, is pretty much afraid when they see a scrolling page or they get a magalog in the mail and it's 27 pages long, right? So they don't really know what to do with it. I mean, the designers are taught in design schools to maybe read the headline and create like an advertisement around it.
Right.
For what you do, for what I do, that doesn't cut it, right? It's long form that we live in and breathe in every day. And the relationship between the design and the copy, from my perspective, and I think you might agree, is that the design really has to support the copy.
Exactly. Copy is always king. It always has been, and it always will be. But design is the queen, and now more than ever, she's coming right up next to the king, and together, they rule the castle and the kingdom, and it's that side by side, playing off of each other, making proper choices together. That's really what will attach and get into the mind of the reader. That allows us to make them stick on to the direct mail campaign in print or online longer. The longer we have them engaged, the better trust and the bigger, greater, deeper trust is built. And then within that trust, the longer they're on whatever vehicle it is we're using, when we build that trust, then they can say, yes, take action.
Absolutely. Trust and belief are two critical components in the framework that I used for clients every day. And I'd love to know your thoughts around why you think, and I agree, but I'd like to have your perspective on why you think the design is becoming more important now than ever before.
That's a great question. Well, design has always been important in just kind of being there to support. But now that we have the internet, we have social media, People are used to videos constantly, music, something moving, a visual, a photo, you have TikTok, Instagram, all these items to look at. So they're used to being entertained 24/7, and they go there to get their entertainment. So although we want to stay on point, like if I'm doing a financial brochure, obviously I'm not going to pull out all the stops with all kinds of bells and whistles. A financial report or magalog, a print or online campaign, we have to build trust that that talking head financial guru is worth their weight in gold, and that they know what they're talking about, because this person wants to know retirement information, for example. So, but we don't want to get too carried away. But boy, I tell you, you have to really take notice. I'll be showing you some samples at the end of the call. You have to take notice about how many times will they have to scroll through a phone to get to another juicy detail, because now when they're on a phone and not just sitting, I have a little sample here to help you. They're not just sitting here at home on their sofa with their printed campaign. At any moment with their phone, somebody could distract them, something could pop up from Facebook. So we must engage them, and that's really the duty of the designer. So that's kind of why I believe now more than ever, design is really at the pinnacle of going whole hog with the copy.
That's a real critical point, right? So most people just think design is, color scheme, fonts, and images. But you brought up a fantastic point. Design is also how you consume or experience that piece, right? How many scroll lengths do you get to the next carrot, basically, right? And that really goes back to a design decision. Like maybe on mobile, you'll choose to not have that image, or to add an image in order to slow down that process, in order to increase the scroll lengths or decrease the scroll lengths. Another thing that I always look at design as, going back to kind of that relationship between copy and design, is the design or the images that support the copy support it emotionally.
Mm-hmm. There's feeling involved. That's very important.
Yeah, and that feeling ties back to the copy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not reading the copy, you're not understanding what that reader should feel at that moment, and then you can't essentially art direct the correct image for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that brings me to this point. It's a tool I created about 25 years ago. It's called the Lori Haller 3-Step Copy Review. And everybody on my team, or people that I train, everyone is trained to use this. And I had to build a tool when I was working full-time as a creative director at an agency. I would hire outside talent, designers. I would give them the copy, and lo and behold, they would come back, and I would notice, like, why didn't they put a photo here to support this? It says your free report. Where's the free report? I got to see it. I'm the audience, and I want to see what you're alluding to.
Mm-hmm.
So in my 3-step copy review, it walks you through these 3 different ways to read the copy. I have you print it out first, and then the first time you read it, you just read it, and it's printed out, so you mark areas hot, cold, and warm. And these areas are like, boy, if it's really hot, it's feeling juicy, and I want to keep going down, 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 and reading more. If it's cold, that's where I'll write a little note and say, like, I'm bored out of my mind. I don't know what the hell you're talking about here. You've confused me. Anything. I'll write all kinds of notes, because if I'm shy and reserved and I don't share these feelings and notions, these really deep dive concerns with my copywriter, obviously I've stepped into the shoes of the reader. What's affecting me is going to affect the audience. So it's my duty to share that. So I'll read it the first time just to get an idea. I'll point out any words that are, as we try to keep our word level on 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, around in there. That's what Clayton would always teach me. If there's these huge fancy copywriting words, I'm like, that is out. Your reader is going to stumble, fall, get embarrassed. and put this piece down, you know? So then the second time, I really do step deeply into the shoes of the reader. I've already asked my client, the copywriter, who am I? You know, is it a prostate supplement, for example, and I'm a 65-year-old man? I need to know that I'm up all night, every night, going to the bathroom 4 or 5 times. I'm not getting as much sleep as I need. I'm crossing cranky the next day. I really need to solve this problem. I need a solution. So those feelings that are conjured up, I try to become them. I need something that's going to work. Here's what my day is like. And then therefore I can read the copy with his feelings in mind. And if if something bubbles up and I'm like, well, this doesn't make sense, it's not touching upon my needs, you're talking about something totally unrelated, I will just raise my hand again, you know, through those notes. And then lastly, the third pass, I read it with the hat of the marketer. And in this pass, it's mainly to see, are those report titles that you're giving away or the webinar or whatever it is, are they in alignment with what you're talking about? Does it make sense? You know, can I not live another day without those goodies? Are the ingredients set up properly? Did the price, you know, if it's a $1,299 investment promotion, you know, for a particular user experience with maybe a publication, webinars, and trade alerts, does it feel like that, or does it feel like a $49 value? You know, what does that math look like? How did you give me the supplements? Did you stack them up so I can get 1, 3, or 6? Did you show me the savings, or did you just say it's $29 a bottle? You know, those little unique specificities are so important. And so I don't want you to be afraid that it takes, you know, 21 days to do this, perform this 3-step copy review. Since I've done it, you know, for years, probably it takes a person 1 or 2 times, a designer, to learn how to do it. I do it all in one pass. I can perform all 3 at the same time. So, you know, 3 or 4 hours and you have solved all the mysteries. That's where the bubbling comes up. That's where that unique relationship happens, the connection with the copywriter and the designer. And that's where I can step forward and I know I can pick the right fonts, the colors, the reports, the whole design, and I will be on point.
Yeah, you're truly a pro at it. So are you also adding, like, in the margins, little notes of like, I want an image of a person like this, or?
Yes.
Okay.
I will do that if the copywriter hasn't done that. Definitely.
Excellent, excellent. There's also interpretation as well, right? Because a lot of times the copy comes over as more or less a block of text, right? So there's color choices, there's font choices, like you mentioned, even breaking up a headline with color, right? Like, even though you have a block of text, you don't necessarily need to always break it up with a space. Sometimes a color works better.
You're absolutely right. Maybe you have urgent in red and impact, you know, bold font. And then you have the other part of the headline. The other thing I do, I'll share this, is I have a blanket creative brief and it has prompting questions for the copywriter. I normally do the 3-step copy review. Then I schedule a kickoff call, ask any questions, but I've already sent them the creative brief, and it is like a compilation of questions like, you know, are you wanting something bright? And, you know, are all the test panels that have been proven to win in the past, how did they look? I will ask for some samples of winners and losers. People forget to look at the losers. You must do a compare and contrast and see, was one open and airy? Was one hard and impactful and direct? You know, you kind of have to do a good reading on that. So they fill out that. It's like 10 questions, you know, do you want charts? Do you want animated charts? Do you have a logo? I'd like to do the 3D stand-up reports. Do you already have them? You know, I'll ask them a variety of questions. Do we want a special offer form? Is this online sales page? And then they're going to go to an order form. Do I get to kind of step in and create that as well with their dev team? So things like that. And then we just hold our maybe like a 20-minute kickoff call together. If I haven't worked with them before, it might even be an hour, because I like to get to know them, kind of feel them out. How are they going to be to work with? I even ask them, how do you like to work? How do you like to do edits? Here's what I like. With Clayton, since we worked together, for 25 years, we got it down to maybe 15 minutes. Even if we had like 12-person team on the line, I would do the 3-step copy review. So would any of my associate designers. We would look at visuals. We would look at winners, losers. Maybe I gave some notes to the video team. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm projecting. And Clayton and I would get on the call and we'd go back and forth and out, ready to roll. So you can get it down to very, very tight and concise.
Very impressive. Yeah, I mean, you hit on a lot of things there. Order page is critical. I've done the 3D version of the product, if it's an info product or a book or something, versus the flat, and the 3D always wins. It's another example of taking design and using it to amplify the value of the product. Right. Let's talk about fonts a little bit. So particularly most of my stuff is online, and I don't know, you just kind of straddle the line between online design and print design, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, have you found any particular use of fonts, whether it's a serif or a sans serif, that works better online and it's a different offline, or is it the same?
That's a very good question. What I tend to do is follow, like, there's trends. Usually they change with our humans, who we're talking to. I'd say every quarter, which is helpful. So I don't just allow myself to get stuck with what I'm working on in here in my studio. And this is a big tip for a copywriter, a marketer, a designer. You must know what's going on in movies. What do they look like? What's that trend? What's going on in social media? A tip of are apps big? How are they functioning? Functionality and technology is critical. What are fonts being used in magazines of all types, whether it's like Vogue magazine? I'll look at the New York Times every day, things like that. So I show trends, and I, see trends and make some decisions based on them. Right now, I will just say for a while, online, typically, and I'll say this, it's a sans serif running body copy, very easy to read, like an Arial, something very simple. Some people get fancy with their sans serif, and it's too round or it's too short. Make it 22 point, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? Don't try to get all fancy. Of course, if it is Vogue magazine, there will be 4 words, 18 photos, and the day is done. But we're not talking about that here. So readability. Most of the people in health or retirement and finance right now, 65 and older, so they are not looking for fancy, frilly fonts. They just want to read it, and I want them and need them to read it. So sans serif, which is the one without the feet, like an Arial, Helvetica, something like that. I did just do a campaign that I suspect will win huge for finance. Not to give away any of the data from it, but in any case, the copy, when I did the 3-step copy review, I'm like, bam, this is a serif font. It's got to have those old feet on it. It's talking about America, and it needs to look kind of old. I can't have any high tech. I chose that. Now for print, I never do print with sans serif. For this, I use the feet, Times New Roman. That's the trouble with designers when they first get out of college. There's 80 million fonts, and they want to use all of them. I will tell you my little secret. I might have 6 fonts I use all the time. I might use a fancy little one once in a while, but the Helveticas, Futura, Impact, Aiken Bold, a nice, easy to read handwriting script, but then Times New Roman. You're done. You're set for the day. So I always make sure to go back full circle and say, who's reading this? What is conveyed in the copy? What is that feeling? What is that conjuring up? And usually you just ask yourself that, and it answers the question.
Yeah. So 6 fonts is your go-to library of fonts. What
Yeah.
what about within a particular piece? Do you have a general rule of like only 2 fonts or only 3 fonts or in one sales letter?
Yeah. You know, with the clientele I speak to, which is predominantly the health sector, supplements and things like that, you figure you want your headline family and your subhead family to all be the same. Don't try to use the bold, the semi-bold, the medium semi-bold, the bold, bold, the underlined italic bold. That's too much for somebody. Save your fanciness for an invitation to your family. Impress them. But you're not here to impress the reader. You're here for maximum response, maximum readability, get the point across, engage them, hold them down, and build trust. So I would just stick with something for the headlines, typically matching for the subheads, just smaller, and then running body copy, whether it's online or off, is a sans serif or a serif. And again, maybe an easy to read handwriting font. Sometimes you have to use something bold or impactful to make a point or on a chart. But other than that, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, simple is the best way, especially with direct response, which kind of leads to the big debate of like ugly versus pretty.
Yeah. I give some really good ugly. I will tell you that I'm the queen of ugly.
Love that. Good ugly.
And by ugly, you and I both know what we mean, but I want everyone else to know all that means is we're not just designing for design's sake. I don't wake up, it's a Tuesday, I'm feeling kind of rested, and I'm going to go crazy and do frilly fonts, purple, go all over the place, because you figure like for a 65-year-old man just looking for ways to effectively and safely increase his retirement nest egg, I feel like he probably, no matter who he is or was, had some kind of a job where he looked at reports, he read the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Washington Post, etc., Barron's. I study those, I'll tape those all over my wall. All he needs is the info, for crying out loud. Give him easy to read subheads, a couple bolds, some bullets, a little bit of indenting, maybe some check marks, maybe a little slight highlighting, not 100% yellow highlighting. Tone it back. I've been toning it back for about 6 months now. Just those unique little things. And that's what happens in the 3-step copy review. I just did it. I have a contract with the Agora Companies, and I work with, a lot of their setups. And so when I read that 3-part copy review, and I know it's an online piece, I'm going to pretend like how many scrolls is it till the next bullet, bold, subhead, chart, visual. If I'm projecting it's a lot, I step in with the copywriter, obviously, by my side, and I'll say, you know what? I see that there's 4 things that tie into this one little nugget of copy. What do you say I make that copy, not a subhead? I'm going to just make him bold, and I'm going to indent these a little, put bullet, 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 and take the periods off the end so they can read 1, 2, 3. That'll force them to scroll down, see that, become, again, just hugging on to your phone or, your online sales campaign. They'll want to scroll again. They're engaged. And so that's one of the biggest things that happens in the 3-step copy review. I can point it out to the writer before we spend lots of time, and one of the associates is, whipping it into shape so I can review it. So that's really a critical point there.
That's brilliant. That's exactly the relationship that design should have with the copy, right? You're enhancing it. Where the copywriter is really just focusing on the words, the design comes in and focuses on, well, how is those words going to be consumed? Is it readable? It needs to be a bullet here, even though it wasn't presented in bullet text format, because of design considerations with the medium. That's the perfect marriage between design and copy that very few people get. And
Yeah.
and it's not taught, like you said, that
Yeah, it's really not, which, it raises its head every day. The other day, we had just completed the entire online sales page. And then I always demand that I get to see the order form and all the copywriter did a great job of the order form. It was about this much of just gray copy. So then I get on top of it. I see at the top it says, welcome to so-and-so. Here's all the goodies you get. Then it restates some of the facts that were in the sales page. Then I see this golden nugget here. It's just a sentence in regular running copy. It's like, try it now for the next 90 days or whatever, Carline. I'm like, what if they missed the price? For the love of God, make that a subhead, add a cross through for instead of $199, say 40% and get it for $49, whatever the mathematical equation was. And then I saw a couple other golden nuggets where bold, 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 and then a couple check marks, and then they get to the 90-day guarantee or whatever. Make sure there's a seal in there that says 90-day guarantee. Don't just assume they're going to conjure up the feeling of trust. It's, I hate to say it, but a lot of times I feel like it's just laziness on the part of the designer and the writer not to step forward. It's almost like, shoo, I'm done writing the copy. Whoo, I'm done doing the design. Okay, I did the slap dab a doodle, but no, if you want a winner, you're going to have to go hard. So I think that's one of the things that sets me apart is I'm relentless. I'm curious, I'm relentless, I'm here to win, and I will pull out all the stops in order to make that happen. And I do. I demand a win.
I also kind of feel it's laziness on the part of the designer. For the copywriter, I kind of give them a pass because it is a different sort of language and they're not really used to thinking in that way.
Mm-hmm.
For the designer, I feel that is what design is. And
yeah.
if you're not going to do it, then you're just lazy.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And that comes from, I don't even have to ask them if they've read the copy, the designer. It's apparent.
Yeah.
And so I'm, my team, I don't think I prefaced this, but just so you know, like 3 different things that I do. I'm hired by teams large and small globally. It could be a 5-person shop, 30 people, 200 people, 4 different destinations, it doesn't matter. And I come in and we see where the situations are. And I train the copywriters to work with the designers. Those 2 then to work with marketers. We set up systems, processes, and methodologies together. So what you want is the whole day is not just a mishmash of doing things. The whole day is kind of set up in a really organized way. Templates, solutions, processes, systems are all in place, so it's one and done. That allows me to get them this big ball of deep thinking, quiet time to focus, deep work. And that's where those decisions are. The laziness is pushed to the side, and then they can come forward, the designers and the copywriters together to make those big decisions. So that's thing number 1. Thing number 2, I run my own successful agency with my business partner of 10 years, Tom Berge. And so we service tons of companies, publications, agencies, supplement builders, things like that. And then we're full service in that we create online, print, package design, websites, logos, brands, developing the product, the name of the product, what the bottle looks like, how it fits in the box, how it interacts on social media, things like that. So we do that. And then the third thing I do is I'm hired to speak on stage at a variety of either masterminds or other events, and they have me speak on copy and design or transfer, whatever it is. So those are the 3 things. So I think together those things kind of bubble up, allowing me to work with a variety of people and get to know them and share, some of these juicy secrets.
Yeah. So typically one of your clients could either walk away with the first aspect is basically you're hand delivering a process and working them through the process so they can use it and implement it. Right. Second,
and the 3-step copy review, the circles of success. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And the second way, it's totally done for you in every aspect, from sales piece all the way to product design. That's really tight control and design. I love it.
Mhm.
And the third way is education. So this is basically 3 legs of your company.
Exactly. And a lot of people take advantage of 2 of them and then come and watch me speak as well, or send people to come watch me speak. So they will maybe not hire 2 more people. Will get these systems and processes. And then since my team is already trained on all of these systems and processes, like we don't even do a business card or a 40-word lift note without 3-step copy review. And I know that sounds insane, but it's proven. So sometimes they will just step in and have Tom and my team and I, our team and I step in. Hey, every month we need this huge sales page done, and then we want you to take it and also flip it to print. There's no reason to add 3 other, team members here. It's much easier. You already know how to do it. They'll make decisions like that, and it'll be fluctuating. Or, hey, in December, we're going to have a logo and a brand and a website. Can you just bang that out because my team is busy with this? Or, something like that. So we're there to help. We become, part of the company.
So between print and design, like if you have a design project, not print to design, between online and print, let's say an online project, and then you go to a print piece, a direct mail piece.
Mm-hmm.
What are some differences? What are some things that do translate? What are some things that don't translate between those 2 mediums when it comes to design?
Yeah, that is such a good question. I'm right in the midst of that with 3 or 4 clients right now. It is huge, booming. Test things online with an online sales page, strategically, designed, developed, written, just like we've been speaking to. And then once we get a reading on the top 2 headlines, leads, test, we immediately flip it into print. So this takes some doing. You have to know a lot about print, how many pages is cost effective, how to get the right list. In print, you can have the best design, the best copy, and if you don't have the list of your dreams, you could be out. So the list is so critical. I work with people like Net Effects, Cindy Butehorn, Nancy Cathy. I also work with Craig Simpson. I'm doing a lot with him right now. They are known leaders, experts in this whole plan of attack and gathering those proper lists and who we should be mailing to, and correct mailing strategies. It really is specific. So what you typically want to do is take every single last juicy morsel of copy online and jam it into the right component piece, like the size. I have a whole bunch of junk here on my desk because I'm doing it right now, but I will show you a couple sizes. So this is called a digest. It's 5.5 by 8.5. Those are working like hotcakes when you choose this size and shape, because it's like a little book. And this is actually a big, long-running winner. It's the Control. So you don't want to choose a book look if the copy doesn't feel like that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
If it feels more like an issue, I pick an issue log, or it's called a mag log. This is 8.5 by 11, around there. 24 pages, 32 pages, 16 pages. They have to fold in half these days because of mail specifications. So it is a little bit of a pickle because it's not just a big front cover. We used to be able to mail like this, so they would see it. So now, this is the bane of my existence. Designing these 2 panels. This particular one that's actually Control and printing again and again, thank goodness. Well, I guess the little secret, this took me 29 tries for just these 2 panels.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Again and again and again. Different visuals, no visual, black and white, what color, different copy here, copy there, switching it around. But it's, look, it's worth it. So this is another format. Gary Bencivenga and I used to do a lot of this oversized. This was for the Rosengarten report, David Rosengarten, Foodie and Passion. But this is huge. This would fit in a number 14. But Gary was absolutely right. Well, Gary is right about everything. But see how big? It's like a newspaper for old people who want to, older segmentation, who want to like feel like they're reading a newspaper again. It's not this little teeny thing. Brilliant. We did this for Richard Simmons as well for diet products. I've done those for large hotel groups. So choosing the format, the shape and the size to fit and match, just like copy and design must match. You don't want to be speaking to them with this kind of word. Like if it wasn't this kind of writing, it would look silly in here. Like, why are you giving me this enormous thing, right? Yeah, so that matters as well.
That oversized piece is brilliant. Just curious, did you take advantage of like a bigger font because of the bigger space?
Oh yeah, I bet it was like a 16 or 18, 20-point font. That is a little secret of mine. I will just, I'm telling you all my secrets today. Yeah, don't tell anybody this. So on these 8.5 by 11s, even though the interior running font might be 12-point on 14-point leading, this could be 18-point here. It's a trick I learned. Parris Lampropoulos and I have done a lot of Soundview publishing supplements. So it'd be a print campaign like this. And when I first started laying these out, they looked just like an issue, just a crappy old issue. Almost, even though we took advantage of Ford color, you know, we made it look like black and white. That's something I learned through some boardroom testing I did with him. But then I just one day happened to make it really big. So you kind of tease or fake out the reader. And it's like, oh, this is such an easy, simple read. Oh, man, I'm so engaged in this. You know, obviously, Parris or David's copy or Carline's copy or, you know, whoever's copy was so engaging. These are the A++ listers. So that coupled with large, easy to read font is the piece de resistance. So they can't resist that. And then they get inside, they're so intrigued anyway. They don't even notice that it's a smaller point size. So
it's like you're greasing the slide, right?
yeah, getting them ready for reading like 24 or 32 pages or whatever.
Yeah, building up momentum. That's yes, absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of thinking. You'll see, like, I don't just, you know, do something. There's lots of research, deep thinking. I study behavioral science and psychology constantly, books and books. I read, I look online. I try to set aside at least 1 hour a day, which is kind of tricky, but I typically meet it, and that is for self-training. Whether I'm working on a project and I really need to get inside the shoes of that reader, maybe I have to go out. I find myself people that are like that. I don't tell them this, but I invite them to lunch. I'm like, let's all go to lunch, women that are over 50 with crow's feet and stuff, you know, because I'm working on a new face cream line, and I'll just happen to bring up like, boy, whose skin is dry at the table, you know, and then I'll hear what they say.
I love it.
Yeah, and like, oh, who's using a cream? Who's using an oil? Get out, you're using an oil, you know, and then I will come back to the table with different knowledge than you can get from, you know, somebody that's just in a marketing company in the department, and they're brilliant, you know, and they're helpful, but they don't have the time to do that kind of study. Mm-hmm. And, you know, another trick I do is I ask for all the testimonials I can get, either audio, video, printed out, you know, on a Word file. And I sit there, I'll print them out. Even if it's in a video, I'll send it to rev.com and I'll get it set up in a Word file for me. I'll print it out. This is another secret. I'm going to be out of business, right? I'll print it out, and then I'll take a yellow highlighter and I will read them out loud. That's another thing in the 3-step copy review. One of the passes I do, I read every single word out loud, and I see how it feels when it comes to life, you know. But on these testimonials, it'll say, I'm John from Cincinnati. Boy, I've had this back pain for years. I used to play tennis, and now I can't, you know, throw my granddaughter up in the air any longer. Dang, I can't get to sleep at night, and blah, blah, blah. So I'm feeling his pain. So then while I'm in there with the copy on this print campaign, when it's time for me to choose a photo, I'm just not the random designer that's like, he's in joint pain, the first 3 photos come up, yep, I'll use that or whatever. I know which photo. I know which photo will speak to these people, you know, or prostate or memory care or finance or retirement or diet, health, whatever it is. I know, and it's that deep dive psychological behavior and behavior patterns and things like that, that really gives me that full scope.
Yeah, even the color scheme in the photos you've chosen for some of your pieces all match the same color scheme for the entire design, the entire piece.
Exactly.
Right? Three color scheme for the whole thing, you know, headline, font, sub bullets, but those same 3 colors I see you're using throughout all, if not most of the images.
Yeah, you know, you brought up a great point there. We did this fairly successful online shorter sales page for this hair product, hair growth for women. And my brilliant business partner, Tom, as usual, it had this old, outdated purple that was their brand color. So we had to stay with that. We can't say like, okay, we're going to reinvent your company for this one sales page. So we took that purple. I'm not saying we might have tweaked it a little brighter, but don't tell anybody. We took that purple, and then every single large shot, Tom really went hard on this, was large headshots of beautiful women with hair, you know, crazy hair like mine, all colors, all races, all ages, all sizes. So everyone could find themselves, you know, but every single photo he used and chose that purple. We created a signature orange to go with it, and then a signature green. And in one of the shots at the very end, I just said, like, you've got to tint this woman's hairbrush, and it was possible in Photoshop, to that green. It was like kind of a brown green. I'm like, no, like it's got to be that color. And boy, your eye went from, we used the click buttons, you know, the pulsating click here buttons in that green with rounded corners, kind of 3D shiny. And then your eyeball went right down to that, right down to the product with some like a green seal on it. And it just hit the spot. So maybe I'll quickly show you this one really successful online winner, if we have a couple more minutes, that Kim Krause-Schwam wrote the copy for, an A++ lister. And I think in it, you'll kind of see those fonts in action, some of my choices. Do you think that would be helpful?
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, good. All right. Let me do a share screen here. Get my glasses on so I can actually see. Okay, you're going to have to tell me if you can see the screen, Bobby.
Yep, I can see it.
Great. All right, so I mentioned that we do a lot of online, a lot of health supplements. That's what this was for. This is Life Force. Kim Krause-Schwam was the writer. I've worked with her for probably 20 years, and funny thing was, maybe 10 years ago, maybe 5 years after we started working together, we kept getting all these winners, finance, health, whatever it was. And I'm like, oh, on this new campaign, I just need to sit next to you. I have all these sketches done. I just kind of need to show you. It was a printed piece, and I was going to do this unique fold. And I'm like, I live in Maryland, you know. And she's like, wait a minute. I guess she thought I lived out in California or whatever. Everybody always says that. Oh, Lori, are you in California? And I'm like, no, I'm in Maryland. She's in Maryland. She's like, oh, what part? So we kept going back and back, you know, to where our addresses were. And lo and behold, like I do this long run at night and I run like right near her house. So she's like 10, 15, 20 minutes away from me at the most. I could run there. So we decided to start meeting at each other's studios or at a coffee shop. And that was when print was really exploding. And me just being able to show her things. If you ever get the opportunity to do a Zoom call like this, really talk on the phone with your writer, the writer and the designer, the marketer together, I think that's where that juiciness really comes into play. So in any case, this is for a supplement. You're going to notice, Bobby, just like you said, this rich, trusted blue. I know a lot of people tend to go towards greens. In this particular case, the bottle was kind of concerning me in that respect, so I went with this rich dark blue. Look at this, live to 120. We tested 2 headlines and leads. The lead ended right about here. You know, this was one test. The other test encompassed that same area, and this one won like hotcakes. I don't think we were ever able to beat it, but this photo just, it really just says it all, living to 120. And so just in a nutshell, Life Force gives you everything you need. Stay healthy, active, vibrant, touches every part of your body. I take it ever since I worked on this. It has this unique specificity. It's an ingredient called glutathione, which lots of supplements do not support or have, or they didn't when they came out with this. And for the most part, I try to take a supplement or something that I'm working on, a shake, whatever it is, so I can really feel it and really get the hang of it and see what it's all cracked up to be, you know, so I can understand some of the things.
The products of my clients, you know, while I'm working on the thing and just even after the fact. But to Kim's brilliance, that question mark in the headline really, that does it all, right? Like without a question mark.
Right. And the thing is, look, I had to choose a font with a good question mark. Actually, I'll tell you a tip. I don't think this is the question mark that ties in with this font. There's a couple fonts I use a lot. They have a horrible question mark, one of those big, ugly, grotesque ones, and I have to swap it out with some Helvetica or Futura. So be mindful. Don't be stuck. Or the quotes. If you don't like the quote marks and it's a big quote, I have a couple of huge online winners going on right now that are quote-based. I would change that font, make it bigger, reposition it, whatever I have to do to visually draw that person in and make it just, ooh, I want to read this headline. So, yeah, Kim is just brilliant.
You set the color scheme, too. Like,
it's set right here. And look at this, an important message from leading anti-aging and wellness physician, Dr. Russell Canfield, MD. Sometimes I will put a little headshot, a little photo up in the top left, so you go into his eyes. Harris always talks about that. The eyes draw the reader in. People will look at a face and eyes first. I did not want to distract them from this woman, so therefore I chose not to do that, but I think I did try a couple designs like that.
She's looking right up at the important message.
Yeah. Woo, who hasn't been in that position? I love being in a open air car, right? So this had a little trickiness. This took a lot of work. It looks pretty easy, but you have the eyebrow. This is what I call the eyebrow. I didn't want it to fight with the headline. You have the subhead, you have the subhead, and then you have the very long dear friend line. So it's like, you know, what am I going to do here? So this takes some doing. See this font, just a regular old serif font, dark blue. Notice how this is kind of a sentence. You don't see me with a cap T, a cap A, a cap O, cap P, cap B, cap. That looks like a headline, a subhead. Like, I need people to feel like I'm talking to them. So now I'm trending at doing a lot of sentences as my subheads. Obviously, I'll speak with the copywriter first, or knock down the to, at, of, in, the, that. Anything that's shorter, you know, than 5 letters, this. But really be mindful. And this came over, I think, with a capital H, Y, C, D. It feels like marketing speak. So be mindful of that.
Down a little bit too. Like it's harder to read and it slows you down when the first letter of each word is caps.
Well, yeah, what happens is, visually you don't realize this unless you study it and you're a nut like me, but people read in shapes. So they recognize the word, they see the shape. If you have a big cap T and O, two is not a key word. According, doctor, Stanford, prestigious, like that.
Mm-hmm.
All those other things go right out the door. You want them to grasp it. Boom, this is from Stanford, prestigious doctors. Hey, I'm gonna listen to this. It isn't Joe Schmo speaking, So we do a sans serif font like this. See how it's tight? Right now, I am not indenting any longer. That might change. We were doing that for a while. It was a good trend. See this spacing? That's where most people go bonkers. They either do too much spacing, it's too tight, it's too loose. You want just read, breath, down, read, like that. If you give them too much space, their mean and angry wife will call them in for supper. They'll get, off track. They'll never come back to your campaign again. So keep in mind that people have lives and what they're doing. 65 and older, it's probably a man, maybe a woman. Could be going to golf later. I only have a few minutes to capture him and gain his trust. Lori, what are you going to do? These are the things I come up with. This isn't a round bullet. We use these triangles. At the very, very end, we do some highlighting. We do not do 100% yellow. I mentioned this prior in our call. I don't do 100% yellow any longer. You'll see some of my newer pieces are a little paler, pale just a touch, or pale blue, pale green, pale gray, but nothing striking like this. This was, a while ago. Look at these action photos. Little sidebar of the doctor, first subhead, it's in green. These were probably not bolded. Maybe they were, but typically I will go in on the creased up copy review and fix these. Obviously, again, Kim, I think this will work better as you're scrolling on the phone. Normally people don't try to arm wrestle me to the ground. Look at this, it's engaging. It's got a little bit of the blue, the green.
Yeah, same color.
We're known for creating our own photos. Sometimes we'll take a photo and sandwich it with another photo. The last thing we want, and do not do this if you're the designer and you're listening, don't look up a couple on a beach that's 65 and older, and don't look on that first page. There's probably 8,000 pages of those. Go to almost the end, find shots there, because you've seen it before in your mail. Even if it's a product I want, if I see that they're so lame that they've chosen that same photo that everyone else did, I'm like, they're too stupid to get my money. Like, I'm not going to order from them. And you figure that most of the society is at that point in their lives. These are bold. We probably went in there and did a bold. We made it blue. An action shot. Look at these colors. Each shot is different than the rest. Tom probably went in there and made a little brighter glow, even if it was red.
Yeah, no distracting backgrounds. All the backgrounds are single color.
Yeah. Some highlighting, an important chart. Not every photo's in a square. Look at that guy. What do you think about him being cut out?
That's nice, because that it's almost like an open loop in your mind, right? It like creates a new something.
Like a little vignette, right?
Yeah.
It almost tells a little story. It feels real. So you don't want to keep doing square, square, square. I'll show you some tactics on how to get around that. Couple check marks, indent. Look at this, little different shape, color in black and white. Blue pulling through, action again. Look, we went away from check marks. We're back to those original ones. A good chart for credentialization. A lot of times with Clayton and various other copywriters. I think David Deutsch has us do captions. Those are really, really helpful in case your reader can't catch on. They go there, they're intrigued under the photo. Oh, they caught on to that chart or what you were trying to train them about. They're in. They don't want to feel stupid. They want to catch on. They want to understand. Something like this, an X mark. This is something that we built. There wasn't anything like this. We just got a badge, glued a thigh on, put this on there. See this little caption? It's kind of grayed out. It's a little smaller. It's a little bit away. Mindful, strategic touches. So I mentioned the bottle. I was a little weary of using too much green because the bottle had a lot of green. Putting this red, something like here. This is very important that you let them know at a certain point, and you have to judge this for yourself. Are they ready to click or not? It might be too soon for your product. Some juicy testimonials.
I love the way you took the testimonial and wrapped it in the product's colors, right? The green on the bottom, the blue on the top. If you scroll up, you'll see the same exact colors.
Yep.
On the product itself. That's brilliant.
And notice how the head is here. Whether it's a testimonial or anything else, my little tip is don't make somebody jump up and over important copy. Copy's king. To get, over here to read it, let them read the copy and then integrate, strategically with that visual, the photo, the bottle shot, whatever it is. So you'll see me a lot of times having most visuals on the right.
Yeah, everything so far, all the images are on the right. Nothing goes. Often you'll see back and forth image on the
yeah. Yeah, sometimes we'll do that. If it's going to be just too mundane, you're going to get whiplash. You don't want that to happen. But,
yeah.
So this is where a lot of people go wrong. They'll just stick this in the same font. No, let's put it in the serif font. Let's put it in a lozenge. Let's add a number 1. Maybe it just had 1 on there. We'll add a number 1. Maybe sometimes I'll take off the colon or semicolon or whatever. Maybe it's too much. These are the things designers are supposed to do. It's mandatory. It's thinking, deep work, thinking, being on top of things, and knowing who you're speaking to. Lovely.
It's just so readable. Like even just scanning it, you can tell.
Yeah. Who doesn't want to stay on top? Even if you're like, glued a thigh on, I don't want that, A cute little vignette, little tidbit, that bring them back home.
Right there, nice.
We do this a lot. Like I'll do a guy with groceries, and if we're talking about strawberries, maybe it's on this one, I'll put a cutout of the strawberry in the front, like you want to reach out and grab it. So not all boxes, make it flavorable, to the audience. You don't want to bore them to death. That's a lot of designers just look at these nice little captions. And what I do is I don't ask for captions yet because they don't know exactly what photo. I place all the photos. I put a fake caption there. When we're pretty close, I make them number 1 through 29. Give them to me. We drop them into place. So, you want to, time is of the essence. Some of these have to go out in like 7 days. We're known for being high-end, good thinkers, and we have systems and processes into place. That's why I was saying a lot of people hire me in their company to get those things all mapped out so you can turn and burn. Money, time is money. There's another place you can click. Yeah, so I think we made this too. It was a chart on a chalkboard, and then we added like a hand. There will not be another campaign just like this. I think it really matters these days with so much out there in the world. You want to set yourself and your client apart. A little visual for credentializing. You saw that one above. This is the type of thing that I'll raise my hand and I'll say like, we need a little chunk. We need a chunk and a chunk and a chunk because people remember by patterns. They're looking for it. Where is it? Where is it? I want to see it again and again. They'll be looking for these. Anything with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, by golly, they'll be looking for that number 6. They'll be waiting for it. Even if they don't want to read, they'll probably be like, ooh, I wonder what number 6 is. You know?
Pulls them down. They keep the number keeps growing, so that it just keeps pulling them down.
Yeah, pulling them down. Now I'm going to show you what we usually do for these really ugly and tiny and hard to read supplement backs of the. I hope it'll still work. Nope. But if this was the real campaign, this is just toasted, so I can show it to you. Let me go back down there. It clicks up, and that big old supplement thing pops up, so you can really read it. So you can just use it as a tip. Yep, right there. So it'll pop up really big. Sorry about that.
Now that section right there, that's pretty interesting, right? Because what you've done is you've made a change here visually. And that's strategic on purpose, right? So now you're slowing them down.
Yeah.
Bring them to focus.
For the kill. Yeah. We're talking about, look, without risking 1 cent. And look how, when I roll over.
Nice. And you're keeping to your theme.
Yeah. The crescendo, we'll start talking about, we're getting more copy on here. Oh, there's 2 bottles. 30 days. Oh, he's signed off, Russ. Dr. Russ Canfield has signed off. And then we set this look up for the 30-day trial. You see the 2 bottles, risk-free. I'm like, it's risk-free. Look, without risking 1 cent. These are the types of little things that aren't typically in the copy. Maybe they were, I can't remember. But these are the things where a lot of times we'll make a button. I'm like, I want a button here. I want something that states something about how cheap this is. No risk, whatever. And then we'll work back and forth. I might have said, Kim, what do you think we should put there? She'll bang out 3 or 4 things. That one's too long, too short, not specific. Oh, this one looks, it's like the 3 bears effect or something.
Now talk to me about that left column there. I've never seen that done before. Trial.
Yeah, could be a trademark. I would not consider copying this. Just something unique to say that this was a 30-day trial. I actually think this particular company, after we did the first one, we worked with them on this deeply. I think this was their look for as long as I can remember. Maybe they couldn't test out of it, but trying something new like this instead of the boxes and things, you'll see kind of how we crescendo near the end. Yep, look at this. A lot of designers are so lazy. They'll just put a box, or they'll just leave this in the running body copy. No. Get yourself a nice certificate. This one we made blue. And it's at the very end, and then there's all the references, and then the footer, of course. A lot of times now what's trending is FAQs and Q&As at the end. Yeah. Hey, I see you're still here. I bet you have a couple questions. Hey, just click on these, and Tom, in his brilliantness, he codes it so you can only see the question, and it's in a sentence, and then you click it, and then it drops under, and then it'll close back up so you can see all the questions. Nobody wants to see all the questions and answers. They want to scan those 6. Yep, I need to know 2 and 3. I'm going to pop under using this arrow. Boom, I'm in. Okay.
Absolutely. It gets to the point where at this stage of the page, there's a bit of like scroll fatigue going on.
Exactly. They are getting weary. They want it to come, they want to be done. They got to go, pick up their grandkid at the soccer field or something. So you have to be mindful of that. That's why that gets me back to that first thing, Bobby, that 3-step copy review. That's what I'm thinking. By here, will they be bored? Am I intriguing them? Is it exciting enough? Can I pull off those photos that'll, duct tape them down and make them want to stay on, and that's the duty of the designer.
A good designer.
Yeah. Listen, I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, that was fantastic. One of the things, just to give you some feedback and some pointers, one of the things I'm finding in some of these long form pages, because we do a lot of analysis of how people are using the page. So we'll put not heat maps, but we'll also put session tracking so we can actually watch them go through the page.
Yes, I do that as well. Hotjar, heat maps, whatever it is.
So one I've been seeing lately is people scrolling all the way down,
Yeah.
zooming it from the bottom up. Have you been seeing the same?
Yeah, or they'll scroll all the way down. They'll get the gist of it.
Yeah.
Supplement, memory. Go down there. If they can't really understand, I'm guessing, the price, the guarantee, the offer, then they'll go to the order form even. They might make a decision there. So this is what I think. You might not agree with me, but people that do that probably aren't in for the big lifetime value that I want them to be in. It's the reader that reads pretty much all of it. They're in for the long haul. They're going to buy anything I sell them. So seeing which ones that you can probably count on to be with you. That's why, you must create the ultimate customer experience no matter what you're doing. It's got to, from every touch point, like once you get them to say yes and they call the 800 number, say, in my print campaign, that's what I lead with, is an 800 number. If that person on the end of the line isn't on point and doesn't project the same feeling, all this is for nothing. If they don't know how to talk about the offer, upsell them, be courteous. If you don't get a really well-designed, well-thought-out, welcome to so-and-so, love having you. If you don't open up those supplements and pull out those 3 bottles, and there's not a really nice, crisp, just regular design, but friendly looking, thank you or welcome or a 10% discount, or people just they know how to bring them into this big bucket, but they don't realize that as they're swooping them in, they have the biggest hole possible in their bucket. And as soon as they get in, you get all this money, and then most of it drains back out. They keep doing this,
Yep.
Which is great for me because that just gives me more work. But it does make me scratch my head. Like, why can't you retain? Retention is just as much of a king as copy is. So, yeah. So I hope these shares were helpful for you today. Like, do you have any questions? Is there anything like, ooh, I didn't get it when you said that. I don't know what you were talking about.
No, it was all very extremely helpful. And just to see it visually and to walk through sort of the thinking was fantastic. Some of the things that stood out for me is all images on one side, one column, again, drawing them down all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
Very limited color palette. You had like 3 colors there, the green, the blue, maybe you just had 2 colors.
Yeah, and a little touch of like red once in a while.
Yeah.
You do have to be careful of red, orange. Like if you're dealing with joint pain is red, throbbing, feverish. You have to be very careful with that. Some designers think, oh, I'll just make everything shout and scream in red. And you're like, I just want cool blue and blue to feel relaxed and have my pain go away.
Balance, right? Because maybe during the problem agitation part, you want to lead them with the red, but then after you're presenting the solution, right now you want to cool it down.
That's a great idea. Yes.
It's subtle, but it also depends on how the copy is written as well. So again, it goes back to design being the queen, as you said, to the copy that's king, and maybe we can add retention as the bishop. I don't know.
Yeah. There you go. Definitely.
This was amazing, Lori. I want to thank you so much for your time. Is there where can people go to learn more about you, to work with you, to get more of your design powers?
Yeah, they could go to my website. It's just Lori, Lori, at Lori Haller, LoriHaller.com. I will warn you, I don't post a million examples on my website. I typically have people fill out the form. They let me know what they're interested in, whether it's design training, processes, helping their company grow and scale, or the agency work, or whether they want me to speak or whatever. And but definitely hit me up. I'd love to hear from you. Even if you don't have something for me to do, I'd love to hear from you, meet you, get to know what you're doing. And then you can just Google my name, and there's tons of interviews, podcasts, lots of stuff. Disregard any of the bad things. I'm sure it's probably not true, or it probably is true. No, but I'd love to hear from you, and I really I appreciate you, and I'm so thankful for you, Bobby, for inviting me in, and it was very thoughtful of you. I enjoyed our time together, and I hope people find something helpful in this that'll help us, get them to reach their goals.
Thank you. You've been a pleasure. I've enjoyed this session with you, Lori. It's great.
All right, have a great day.
All righty. Bye-bye.